Whoa! And we're here with the interview that we always promised. Coming in with the channel Big Mac himself, one of our valiant, proud, promising war bosses that's part of our Discord, always been a part of this wall since the beginning. We're proud to introduce the channel Big Mac, Brandon. Welcome to Big Mac.
What's going on, man?
All right, everybody. So Brandon went to Nova, had a great time, got 60th, but he was the second best performing player out of all the Orc players. He did run up into Brad Chester. He did go face-to-face with the War Chief. He collected some teeth. So we obviously got to get into that as well. Right off the bat, we're going to make sure we show you the list. We got some questions here for Brandon. He's going to lead us through it, his list and his way of thinking. So let's bring up his list right off the bat. We'll talk about his things he liked, things he didn't like, and what's up to come next. Hello, Brandon.
What's going on, man? How's it going?
So I'm excited. You know, this will be our first interview. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully I don't jag it and I wag it and we get some teeth out of this. So let me hear about the first time being at Nova. I have never gone to Nova myself, but it's always told to be one of the most exciting, interesting, and experiences for Warhammer in general.
Yeah, man. So my team has been around for, like 2.5 years now. And last year at Nova, I missed it. Didn't get to go to Nova, right? So this was my first year experience going to Nova. And oh my gosh, it is huge. It's crazy. The entire Hilton Hotel, this one is like a special convention center with 3 different floors, running all the game systems. They literally had probably $50,000 worth of Warlord Titans sitting in a corner with like all the characters, like Mini Wargaming Dave, Adrian from Tabletop, right? You saw everybody, like everybody was there. Yeah, I mean, it was larger than life, man. Nova is so much of an experience. I recommend anybody who, you don't even have to be like the most sweaty competitive player, but just like literally living 40K for 3 whole days. It's something else. It's something else, and it was a fantastic experience.
It's a lot. The only thing I've been close enough to that is I went to the first Las Vegas Teams event, the very first one they had, and met the Art of War guys there. Tabletop Titans were there. It was kind of like similar, not as huge, but it was still really big and a good experience considering I was not a super sweaty tryhard like that either. But even though you weren't such a sweaty tryhard maybe as other people, so in a sense, you were prepared. So what did you do in preparation?
Yeah, so there's a running joke around, all the guys in the game group and all the guys in the team that like I list tinker far too much. And so what I did in this like fashion is like I told myself, not going to list tinker, played some practice games in. They immediately fixed the Death Killer on Wartrike, gave them the character keyword, and I list tinkered.
Bam.
And literally
worth it.
Did all my practice. Yeah, worth it 100%. Did all my practice games running without the Death Killer Wartrike. Immediately last minute audible, put the Death Killer Wartrike in there. Found a way to shave the points by taking out the Beast Boss and so on. Yeah, I mean, as far as that's concerned, the other parts you do to prep for Nova, like that you got to really think about, like besides, getting your place to stay, what you're going to do, kind of mapping out like what you're going to do. I didn't want to stay at the convention. I stayed a little bit away, but it was like a walk or like a bird scooter away, like five minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And just be prepared to be on your feet for 10 to 12 hours for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you do a couple of things, like grab you some snacks that you're going to have, water, like that's a huge must because the beers are going to come, but you got to have water on the side to help you out. Right. And then just be ready in terms of look at the missions, how your list plays the missions, what you want to do. And if you make your game plans based around not caring who your opponent is on the other side, your other audibles become great because you can just make small tinkers or audibles based upon who your opponent is and playing to your strengths in the matchup.
So would you say that's a part of something you learned at Nova as to how to make a faceless opponent, essentially, right? Instead of you just going in, playing and being like, okay, I know I like to kill Space Marines. There's a lot of them. Is this more of like what, or maybe this is how my list played in my local tournament and everywhere I know I can hide these places? What is this compared to that? Because there's things you can learn at Nova, and then what else happened here? What did you learn this directly from Nova though, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I learned from Nova is
Your feet hurt.
that like, yeah, good shoes. Bring good shoes to Nova,
Yes.
right? No, but like what I learned from Nova is that you get such a wide selection. You get to see some really crazy list concoctions and stuff that gets worked up.
Yeah.
So what I really learned is like, when I think about us for Orcs, the big thing that we have to get accustomed to in 10th is that we're a point scoring army. So like getting away from thinking about it's all about, killing and crumping. Like it's all about crump them, beat them. I want to take units that are just going to beat them down. Cool. Great story. There's a lot of armies out there that do a much better job at killing us. I learned that twice with Imperial Knights and Custodes really quick, right? So really when it comes down to what I learned from Nova, where I really started getting my brain around it in the middle of game one, was that, wow, I'm watching all these people not scoring points. So I literally learned to go into all of my games. I'm like, points are at the front of my mind. Does this move make me points? Does this thing that I'm doing make me points? Does killing this unit give me points? So it actually, it put me in a prime spot to thinking about, hey, I want this character dead. Have I pulled assassination yet? Nope. Guess what? That character is going to be alive, and he's just going to hang out and do whatever he does because I want assassination points. Or maybe I have enough points, and I'm tracking actively on the app. And that goes alongside with the takeaway there would be, if you're not doing some kind of real-time tracking of your points while you're playing, you're doing yourself a disservice. Use any kind of battle app or anything that's going to help you track it, because you need to make game time decisions based on where your points are at. And you won't have that FOMO moments where you look back and you're like, if I would have just done this thing differently, I would have won in points.
Yeah. So how often were you burning your secondaries with that in mind? And how often were you really counting, almost like counting cards and going, okay, I really can wait on that? What kind of priority was that for burning and waiting compared to just
every game
going for the primary?
Yeah, every game. I ended up using that 1 CP burning. Used it every game when I didn't like what I got, and if it made sense to where I could be okay with not scoring that later on in the game, when I would make the thing to burn it. I actually had 3 games where I got wrecked with pulling secondaries early, where it's just the luck of the draw. I got really rough secondaries in the first turn, and I just had to make the gutsy call to burn them and go and choose not to score a 0 in my first turn. And especially for the games that I won, I mean, it netted me major points. Even though I collected my 3 losses, with my last one being at the end, my points total was insane because the games that I didn't go under 90.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed the games that you were winning were very, very high scoring, which makes sense. You were just going more for points than anything, and I think that's really important for new players to realize is, even though there are points in additions where orcs are just straight super killy because rules can end up being broken, across multiple editions, like since 8th edition, orcs are a point scoring army to constantly play primary, constantly take over the board, and then die. That's why controlling your rate of attrition, making sure you still have stuff left and not overcommitting and dying all over the board everywhere just so you can get some more kills in, just so you can attempt to get one more get in combat, isn't always the right play to go, which is what you'll learn in difference when you play locally to big games, right? So how was that different from your local practice games once you actually started saying these crazy lists? Because you kind of mentioned that, but right before we talk about your actual list, what was the difference when you practiced compared to when you ran into some funky people out there?
What's crazy is I think where I live, being where I live, the local meta is a lot reflective of what the meta shifts, because there's so much sweat in this area that people are watching BCP, seeing what lists are doing well, running them at the local friendly local gaming store the next day. So But so I felt good. The demons matchup felt fantastic. Like, you know,
You knew what to do.
saw I was like, thanks for the free 100, because I mean, I had played 3 matches in the demons with the list, and like every time, like I had to go out of my way to not score 100 in that one, right?
You were so confident in it that you dropped the beast boss on foot. That's how confident you were in that
Yeah.
list, because you were like, I don't even need this more anti-killing, anti-monster destroying. I could just take a whole different kind of skill set, tool. So that makes sense. But did
Yeah,
you see
yeah,
any
yeah.
lists? Like, maybe you didn't match up directly because we've seen your matches, but were there any lists that you might have seen and been like, what the heck is that? Like maybe a 30 Terminator list and your list is only -1 AP across the board with 3 wounds. Did you think, what if I ran into something weird like that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a couple of them, but I think I got the one that was like super weird that I had no expectation of. So, the one that I got, the Dark Angels list that we'll go through, like that thing was weird, man. It was
It
super
reminded me
weird,
of Ninth
and
Edition, to be honest. It was a little bit of everything
it,
on both sides of the Dark Angels without all their special rules. And I was like, what is he doing?
but it was killy. It shot, and it shot a
Mhm.
lot, and he just like had trash to try to move block and hold you in places using speeders. It was
It's the
cool, but
speeders.
one of
Yeah,
my
speeders
teammates
are underutilized by Space Marines sometimes, in my opinion.
one of my teammates got hit by the player's name was Sasha. I can't remember the last name, but he got paired into this person twice with this um, what is Imperial Fists list that apparently is broken. Just this broken Imperial Fist lists. I'll have to find the last name for you, but the first name was Sasha, and man, the guy is like one of the best guys in our group. He had a better placement than me come the end. I think a couple spots above me, but poor guy got paired into this really super weird Iron Hands build that, or not Iron Hands, Imperial Fist build that just
Yeah.
like wrecked face. So we definitely saw some oddball ones that, like, in my local meta, if you told anybody you were taking Imperial Fists, you would get laughed out the door.
I own Imperial Fists, and people laugh at me all the time. Yes. Yeah, and you said the person's name was Sasha? Interesting. I might give him
Yeah.
in a second. So with that being said, with those weird lists, let's go into a bit about more your list. I have some questions for you in regards to your list on why you made those choices, and such like that. So right now, we'll start with who we see right here is the Beast Boss on Squigosaur. We'll just read it off to show the people watching. We have the Beast Boss on Squigosaur with no enhancements, Mazrai Scrag Bag, Naban Smash the Squig with nothing, Naban Smash Squig Cunning but Brutal, Naban Smash Squig Aguapa's Kill Choppa. You got 2 units of Beast Boys that are in the trucks. Def Killer Ward Trike, well, possibly in the trucks. You can tell me if they ever weren't. Def Killer Ward Trike with 4 up Feel No Pain, 2 Gretchen units, 3 Bricks of Squig Hog Boys, only one Storm Boy unit, and 2 small biker units, just min size. So tell me right off the bat, I have a couple of these questions. Get Beast Boss on Squigosaur. How'd you feel about him? What was his purpose on this list? How important was he?
So he was good. Like, I know a lot of people are down on him because he's not a killer unit, but that's not how I played him. I played him as this tough middle brick homie that would just run up to the middle of the board. He would just go live on the middle objective, right? And then just say, hey, this is mine. And if you count out how many units I have in there that have the Snagga keyword, you will see why reroll charge aura on that Beast Boss on Squigosaur is so fantastic, right?
It's your whole list.
Between using, yeah, it's a whole list. So it felt weird to not have him, right? As long as I didn't play him to kill and I just played him to, bully that center objective, provide a reroll aura that I can daisy chain my, giant squig hog bases around to be able to benefit from those auras. It made sure that I didn't waste the very essential WAAAGH turn for me, as well as, in the late game when I start losing squig riders, right, and stuff starts happening, like I have that in my back pocket to make a long bomb YOLO charge or something.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. So then he was good. He was good, useful, but he was more like supportive. You don't mind that he's not 3 damage, 4 damage like Mazrag. You really just like him that he gives some support roles with the heroics and his ability to give rerolls, which I do see it as very important too, because you can think you're really confident in that 5-inch charge, but best believe the dice gods are fickle, and they will make you miss that 4 or 5-inch charge just out of spite sometimes. How about here, your boy Naban Smashless Squig with Kamba Brutal? Did you ever get the point to fall back? What was the point of that? How'd you feel about falling back with the Brick of Squig Hog boys?
That's a fun one, right? I love Cunning but Brutal, and my kill tank list with my Mega Knobs had Cunning but Brutal in there. Like, I'm a huge fan. You don't got to sell me on it. But the biggest value that came from Cunning but Brutal is just from your opponent knowing you can fall back and charge. Like, you say, hey, this unit can fall back and charge. Every one of your opponents is going to be like, that one needs to die. Cool. Completely ignore my one with Head Wapis Kill Choppa that when I WAAAGH will just touch multiple vehicles and just melt them all because the knob will just do one on his own, right? Yeah. That was such money of it. There was a couple moments where fall back and charge actually did great because like I could fall back and then charge somewhere else and kill some trash unit that was sitting on objective, and now I own the objective. Which is like a great usage of it. But more of the time, right? That one just like ate up all the attention and allowed my other, 12 pigs to roam free, especially my Head Wapis Kill Choppa squad. I did not
just looking to try to kill that unit because being able to continuously continue the momentum of falling back and continue momentum is a big deal when you're playing with orcs or against orcs. So I could see why that definitely came into play. Of course, you had these. Did you ever not put these Beast Boys into the trucks, or did you ever swap them for Grats? I assume they just always went in the truck.
Always went in the truck. Yep, just a 2-stage deployment mechanism, right?
Did you do any outflanking with your list? Strategic
what do you mean, like? Oh yeah. I would strategic reserve one squad of Grots. And depending on like what my layout was, I would strategic reserve one squad of Grots and maybe one squad of bikes.
Oh, okay. The bikers. Okay. All right. What about this? I clicked something right here. This Def Killer Wartrike, tell us a little bit about how you used them, because you only used them with 3-man biker units, as we showed. You didn't take a brick. So tell us about why you didn't take a brick and how you felt about just this 3-man unit. What was its purpose? How much utility? How much killy?
Loved him. He was the man. In the game, when we talk in competitive spheres, you tend to talk about triangles, right? It's a game of triangles. You look at 3 objectives that make a triangle. You want to own that. Your opponent is going to do the same. What did great for me with the Death Killer Wartrike was that with that auto advance, I could just yeet him to the opposite side of the board outside of my native triangle that I've chosen to go for, and really give the opponent something that they had to get through. And most of the time, I would tell them that he's got the 4-up Feel No Pain, and they'd have to overcommit a ton of stuff to try to take him out. And that's stuff that's not shooting my pigs that are going up the center to own the triangle that I want to own anyway. Or they would undercommit and not be able to have the objective at the end of the turn and be stuck in combat with this T7 4-up Feel No Pain jerk that's just holding the objective with his big old base so they can't even touch it, right? And it's like, you're stuck. You get to hang out with me, and I'll go ahead and own the objective while you're hanging out for me. Like, thanks for your stay. He was a great addition. I loved having the Death Killer.
And it's even better now.
Big footprint of 6 bikes.
It's even better. It's even cheaper, right? So I wouldn't be surprised he ends up on more on your list, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about only taking one Storm Boys unit in relation to the bikers, right? Because instead of taking 2 Storm Boys, or you took a spare biker unit, one was with your Wartrike, the other one was doing other stuff. Can you tell us a bit of why you chose to do that?
I like the survivability, right? I like the T6. I like the more wounds. I like the fact that you have assault weapons, right? So that way you can advance and still be able to do secondaries. And the only thing I really found my Storm Boys effective for was for behind enemy lines. And I believe it's called deploy teleport homers, which is in the corners of the board. And, there's kind of like, in the words of Brad Chester, like trash is trash, right? They're just
Trash
like my
is
trash
trash.
units for scoring me points, right?
Yeah.
And so what I would do would be, 10 points, and I get better movement, the ability to advance and do these kind of actions, and they last longer, like significantly longer. You can't just put some random bolter fire into them and then take them out, which happens with Storm Boys all the time. So, when it came to behind enemy lines, if I'm in turn 2, I've already got a unit probably in their lines anyway, because I'm Juan and everybody's up in there. So I only needed really to have him available for one corner, because when it comes to scanning all 4 corners, you can get the 2 on your side of the board. You can get the one, use the Storm Boys to get the one on the opponent's side of the board in the non-native deployment corner, because most of the time they screen out their back corner.
Yes.
So you can't drop in their corner. So take the three different sets of points for the 3 different corners, take the 4 points, and I'm happy. Cool. Have a great day.
And so with that said, now we know a little bit more about how your list was running. It was mostly Squig Hog. You were running up for the score. Also, with the secondaries, I noticed a lot of them, you do want to be pretty much still eligible to shoot to perform the action. Bikers having assault make up that difference for the fact that they can't move through terrain. So that definitely helps if you're worried about the movement lack, considering that they're not infantry. But what about going into changes post data slate onto this list? Who's getting cut? Who's staying? Who's being added? What's going on here?
Yeah. So not big changes. I had a couple of changes. I've got my list actually in front of me here. Beast Boss is out. I think that I can play around the rerolls and not needing them, just based around really like managing, right? Like my charges and making sure those charge distances are good. Although I will miss those rerolls.
You might have a CP on hand.
CP,
You might have to start keeping that. Yeah, that one in the spare bank.
But our CP's so good, right?
Yes.
I don't want to spend it on a reroll.
No, I tend to keep one.
I
tend to keep one knowing I really might need it for those really, really rare chances that I miss. And if I don't, I go into the next turn with 2. I'll fight in death if I have to. Something like that. But yes, I'd really much rather not waste it.
Yeah. So in the new list, cut a squad of beast Snagga boys. We got 10 flash kits. We got Captain Badruck. We got a mech to buff the truck that they ride in. Let's go. Like I am sold 100% on flash kits after not running them the entire tournament.
Yeah, I started using my flash kits. I've got about 3 games with them, maybe a bit more. And yeah, they go hard. When they do spike, they murder. The ability to pop lethals. Your enemy eyes will just open up as they're like, you're throwing what? 30, 40 dice at me with rerolls on sustained hits, and they're all 2 damage. And I'm just like, yeah, bro. Like, I told you. Like, I always tell them, I told you, man. I know I'm hitting on 5s, but you underestimated. Also, Captain Badruck's aura. I think the better you are as a player, the way you're more when you think in hindsight, hey, I'm going to disembark, I'm going to move, I might lose 2-3 guys from small arms fire, but I'm going to close the distance. That way, when my punching unit does come in and I'm trying to fight it, shoot again, the Captain Badruck's -1 toughness aura does come into play for the rest of your list as you're continuing the momentum in fighting. When you start to fight some weird matchup armies that also have like T6 infantry, T7 infantry, weird stuff running around, maybe you want to drop something's toughness from 10 down to 9 so boys can punch up into it. Like, it becomes somewhat relevant in some matchups, like it really has. And also the boys, the flash kits themselves can punch. I mean, they're base 4 attacks. I think people sleep on that. And if someone leaves a target in front of them thinking they're just gonna shoot them and stand there, they're not. You run in, make them weaker, you hit them. The 40 punches on me sometimes. They're just like, oh, I guess I got crumped too. And now you're standing somewhere to where now you can overwatch the following turn with flash kits. So I'm always sold on them for that reason too. But is that the only thing that changed from your list? Because the rest of it was pretty successful, or what?
Yeah, that's it. That changed because everything else was successful. So
bikes got cheaper.
Yeah, and I was able to switch out fallback and charge. I'm going to try it out without the fallback and charge. Instead, took follow me lads. So one squad is just super fast.
Okay, just making it much faster.
Yeah, took follow me lads on one of the pigs.
Did you drop one of your trucks too, or did you just decide to put Gretchen in that second truck?
No, so I've got 2 trucks. So one will have Beast Snagga boys, and the other one will have the flash kits.
Oh yeah, Flash gets into dumbing them. Okay, yeah, the Flash gets. So then your list stayed almost identical, right? Besides that, you just dropped, like you said, you just dropped Beast Snagga Boys for
Beast
105,
Boss,
the Beast Boss,
and a Beast
and
Boss.
and a Beast Boss. Okay, so your list really wasn't
Beast
hit.
Boss and Squiggus.
Yeah, right here at the Beast Boss and Squiggus or bam. Okay, and yeah, I feel like that's exactly what I would probably try to cut off your list too. I'm not always sold on Beast Snagga Boys unless I have the points to pay the tax. The strength 5 really does make a difference, but boys are boys and OC is OC. Sometimes you just rather just have 2 OC for cheaper and to get it in the truck up the field. So if you had the points though, and you got follow me, lads, you paid for all the little expensive you might have too. So that sounds good. Definitely could see that list being successful too. I'm really into and to start, the knobs went down in points too. So your whole list just went down across the board, and all you did was ask a different kind of killie power. So that's really funny. I love the 60-point knobs on Smash Squigs right now, to be honest. I've run them in like 3-man units. I put one knob in the Smash Squig in a 3-man unit, and at first I was like, I don't know, man. But I brought it in from strategic reserves, and it ran in and killed some Space Marine character that was like Iron Hand Ferals or whatever that dork's name is, and then went on to kill some more units, and then they're just like, dang. Like you said, though, they'll kill the 3 Squig Hog boys that are in that unit. The knob's running around still crumping on his own. He's a force by himself. So I'm not opposed to even that knob being so cheap. It's what, 110 plus the knob himself, so 170 for this small unit that's throwing mortal wounds, still fighting some small trucks in armor, still has great damage to potential all across the board. It's completely effective, efficient with hitting +1 to hit for everything. So the knob, I'm just so blown away that got reduced in points. So your whole list just got steroided even better in my opinion, just unquestionably. But what about for our fellow Warboses, right? People that are trying to get maybe into their first super major or even like a GT. You know, I'm most likely going to a GT later this month. Let's say you're talk to me like you're trying to give me some advice other than my physicality of drinking water and standing, you know, because I've been practicing that too.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the biggest thing, like, it takes a village, right? So when you go to these big super majors, you never know what you're going to get paired into. And the worst feeling is playing an army for the first time at a super major. Like, you do not want to get gotcha. You do not want to, like, figure out how that opponent plays. So, you know, the best thing to do is just, like, if you've got people that you go into, like, any kind of gaming group or, you know, gaming place, like, just write down all the armies and then just, like, post on any Discord or find something to see if you can get games into those armies, and just, like, who cares if you get beat up, because you'll know how that army plays the next time. And if you happen to draw that army, then, you know, you'll feel better, but at least focus on what you know is going to be in the meta, right? At that time, like, if it's broken and people are complaining about it, it'll be in full force of that major.
For sure.
So, like, you know, for me, it was Custodes, Eldar, GSE, Tyranids. Like, make sure you know how to play against them, because they will be there. Demons, I didn't even have to worry about it. That was
no, definitely not with that much. Not with that many beast Snaggas, cool. Man. Poor, whenever he's told me you went into Tyranid monsters and demons, I was like, oh my god, those guys are getting annihilated. Like, so that's
get him a wheelchair. I was like,
yeah,
hey, get him a wheelchair and get him out of here.
There you go. Just take a big L out of your bag at the same time. Like, oh, here you go, man. Here's a big L for you. Because I'm sorry, I gotta give it to you. But tell me about just in short before we wrap this up as the Big Mac. Tell me about how you feel about the balanced data slate, how things changed, you know, the game, how orcs are going to kind of, rise, because I'm telling people, I really think they're going to kind of come up, and we're the ones that are going to be possibly getting hit with the next changes, that people are going to be a little butthurt from flash gets, people are going to be a little tired of Squig Hog boys. So what's up? I mean, I know Brad Chester and you are looking to abuse some gets.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we came out fantastic in the data slate. I think we came out great. We're looking good. I think that if you keep a set, like a 75-25, or even maybe call it a 70-30 of killy and then trash, and then make sure your killy side has some synergies, and then you've got the trash to throw away for the points, you can keep on. Like, or you just adopt a 50-50 and just 50% of my list is just trash. And as long as you make your focus around like how can I score these points, and what units would I need to score that points, and really take advantage of our speed and mobility, then you'll just have a great time. Like our units are just really built to score points really well. It's just capitalize on those units that just got hit, find those synergies for those ones that just got dropped. There might be something to say for Burners. I've been thinking about that. That's kind of been in the cooking and noodle. But for everybody else, I say like play units, see how they work, see how they feel, especially if those units got a drop. Check to see how that new synergy goes, because then maybe that's the new WAAAGH, right? And you're just going 6x3, 3 units to 6.
You were slightly ahead of the game by using the Def Killer War Strike with the Feel No Pain, because I think that's just going to end up on more lists. Hopefully, at least that's how I feel about it. Because you preemptively dropped your Beast Boss anyways when you explained your list, and he ended up taking a 20-point increase. That was huge. GW didn't like seeing him getting spammed. So that's one kind of exact example of when you thought a little bit of ahead. It was a tech piece, but in reality, it ended up being a curve ahead of the game. It's going to keep getting played, obviously, coming ahead of time. And there's some other units that might be the same way, too. I know when the Index first came out, nobody really took Flash Gets too serious. And then once the really high-level competitive players got theirs painted up and threw them on the table, or the couple people that actually owned Captain Badrock, it was on, and everybody started to go like, oh, that's our shooting? Oh, we need that. That makes a difference. Oh, goodness. I mean, I was one of those people where I was like, I got 15 Flash Gets, but I don't have a Captain Badrock, so I got to get back my own up. So for sure, that's definitely the future. And I think the future is bright. The rise of the green tide is true. And I don't just say that to hype things up. I really do think that we're going to be getting more performances. I was in an Art of War chat, and I was messing with Jack Harpster because I like to mess with him. And I was telling him that he's underselling Orcs, and the Art of War is going to totally forget about Orcs for about 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's going to be a greenskin. So, so don't be surprised if all of a sudden he shows up, or any other big competitive players that are like deciding to play Orcs, because it's not just that we have trash. It's our trash really does beat the crap out of other armies' trashes. And then even people's mid-tier kind of units don't pick us up easily or reliable. Like, it's just across the table, we always have a little bit of something left over, and that little bit of something is always dragging down somebody, always trying to score more points. As long as you're not giving it away and just completely standing somewhere where a direct counter is going to murder you, right? If you put a truck in front of a tank, it will die. But if you put a bunch of different units hiding behind buildings, a couple gets shot up from small arms fire, and then all of a sudden you're running up the board with more of your squigs, more of your knobs if you're running knobs, whatever it may be. And the bikers, like you said with your bikers, maybe 2 bikers get shot away, and then the knob standing there doing his thing, and then a bite knob runs down the field and power claws someone. It's like, what? That little dude just killed stuff? It happens all the time when you're playing Orcs. And I think that's going to be a factor too, because for point, when people are trying to kill us and clean us off objectives, even our trash, they just run out of things. Sure, people are more killy, but then they run out of activations. That's very common too. And that's just going to be even worse for people now as our points went down. And a lot of other people's are what I call our predators got point increases to where they were able to direct counters to our armies. And now they're just, a lot of them went up in points or got their rules destroyed. So I can see us creeping into A tier. I'm not scared of Necrons. I already started attacking to Necrons. I'm assuming they're going to be bringing bricks. They're going to get crumbed by B Snagga boys, normal boys, Flash Gets. Like, all those guys are just to pick them up off the table. So
Squig hitting on 2s have enough volume to take out some Necron boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
pop them exploding 5s, my dude.
Dude, exploding 5s is just so. That's what I think our real best strat is, to be honest. I use that almost every fight activation. I find some way to use it. Because if people vex my art as nails, I can survive the game. I just take that into consideration. I'm more likely to die. But if they took away my unbridled carnage, that will mess up my math on what I think I'm actually going to start trading out. So if I had to give what's a big point to Orcs, don't waste your CP. Unbridled carnage might be our best strat, to be honest, though. And fighting death can be super helpful in some matchups, right?
So good.
So we give Orcs are going to A tier. We're going to agree Orcs are going to end up being A tier, right, coming forward.
I heard A, but I thought you meant S tier, bro.
Oh, S tier. We're throwing us into S tier. All right. I think they're Orcs.
I think we're gonna get slept on. And we're just gonna score points. Like, I think we just people are telling me don't worry about Votan, but I actually do have a fear about how when people start catching up to Votan and how the list construction is going to be, because like our toughness and our durability is completely offset by their judgment tokens.
Yep.
But I think that and Marines are going to be really the only thing that we're going to be stressing on. Maybe Tau, but I don't really think Tau is going to give a problem. We're too fast.
No, I don't think so either. And yeah, I can agree. I think League of Voltan players, just like at the top level though, you're just less likely to see them like really high level skilled players. To be honest, they're new faction, having them painted up and having enough of those models. People really trying to take the time to consider playing an army that's low tier. Like it takes a certain kind of person that's deciding I'm gonna really commit to playing this consistently until I find it out. So it's not that it's not going to happen. It's just one of those things that they're not going to mess us up enough statistically in the rankings to drop us off the mid or high tables, I think. But they could be a problem because, like you said, if I can just mess up all your factor, your T5, not care, and start putting my small arms and actually picking up your units, then they do have enough activations with their points decreases to actually play into us. So it could happen. It could. Not against it. I'm never too prideful on who can beat us because Orcs are an army that takes a pretty good skill curve because movement matters a lot for Orcs and how you move, and charging is much harder than shooting at people sometimes. Actually playing combat well is in the whole for 40k much more difficult than typically standing still and shooting. No offense to people who like to shoot. So yeah, that's for sure. Well, I think that was a good interview. The Big Mac. For any questions, you guys put them in the comments. He can obviously find you there. He's in the Discord. You can find him there. You can add him. You can add us. And this is the first of hopefully other successful interviews as a whole. Brandon, do you have any more thoughts and things you want to say about in general? I mean, here's your chance.
Yeah, I mean, just thank you for this. It's been awesome to be able to sit down and do this chat. Super thankful for everybody who followed my Nova journey in the Discord. It was fantastic seeing everybody hype up. Like I got super hyped being on stream and playing that game, and yeah, I'm here for everybody. Give any kind of 2-piece or anything that they want, any information they want, and something but love, man. Nothing but appreciation for this.
And I appreciate you for the kill tanks. That was a big deal. I don't think I can take them where I'm going to the event because I showed you the table. It's really dense, man. Really punishing for those shooting lanes. Even the 12x6 frame counts as LOS blocking. The rules were intended. The rules were intended for when Knights still had towering. That's why. So I can see why. But that also gives me some hope that I could do good. So I just need to figure out how much killie I want to bring and how much trash and the kind of killie I want to bring. So I'm excited for that. But remember, Brandon, one thing to keep in mind is don't cross the wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa! Oh,
Let's go.
I almost the stream button, guys. I did it too early. Whoa! Yeah.